Power #1 is genuinely unsettling at times. Like, to the point where I actually had to put the book down at one point because it was giving me anxiety. So Amanda Waller launches her big attack against superhumans and superheroes in particular in this issue. One of the things she does is she turns a large amount of public opinion against superheroes using AI-generated imagery. There's a lot of talk about the media and average people seeing these AI images and videos of superheroes doing things that are out of character, but still believing them just because they want to believe them. Our author, Mark Waid, really harnesses the undercurrent of division and paranoia that we're seeing in America in 2024 and channels it into this comic book. It's masterfully done, but yeah, it's scary at times. I'm really excited to see Dan Mora, our artist here, work on a high-profile event comic book like this. He's one of the best in the entire industry right now, and he deserves this spotlight. So somehow, and I'm still not entirely sure how she's doing this, but Amanda Waller is able to take away the superpowers of all the various superhumans, including Superman. And as such, we get a great opening scene in which Superman falls out of the sky after being shot with a regular bullet. It's really gripping and really memorable. The most interesting character in this story thus far, at least to me, is Oliver Queen, Green Arrow. He's put in a position where he kind of betrays some of his principles in favor of others. From a story standpoint, it's a really meaty, unique position to put that character in. If you read the book and want to know more about the position he's in, I would advise you to go back and read Green Arrow number 13, which I think came out last week. Superheroes and metahumans are still on the run in Absolute Power number 2. This issue tells us that 80% of the world's superheroes have been depowered and incarcerated. So yeah, it's not just a phenomenon that's exclusive to America. This is happening globally, apparently. Said superheroes evidently include Kid Flash and a bunch of speedsters. Blue Beetle we see on this chart here. John Kent, Superman's son, has been taken and is being used as a weapon by the bad guys. Hal Jordan, Green Lantern, was incarcerated at one point. We saw that in the Green Lantern ongoing series. Incidentally, in the most recent issue of the Green Lantern ongoing series, Hal Jordan knocks out King Shark with a headbutt. I didn't know you could do that to a shark. So when the bad guys in this book, who are led by Amanda Waller and Green Arrow, kidnap these superheroes, are they unmasking them and finding out who they are? Or are they just detaining them and throwing them in cages? I don't know, I feel like if these people were smart, they would unmask all these heroes and find out who they really are and start some kind of a database, I don't know. And then if you really wanted to raise the stakes for this story, you'd have Waller leak an identity or two to the media and, really stir up the public. Like, imagine if they did that to a Hal Jordan or, I don't know, even a character like Kid Flash or something. That would really shake up their status quo. But no, I guess they're just throwing them all in cages with their masks still on. That makes sense. On the upside, Dick Grayson, Nightwing, has a really great character moment in this issue where he sort of rallies the remaining superheroes, including names like Superman and Wonder Woman and Batman, and sort of forms a plan and deploys them all. Nightwing makes a lot of sense as a character who can lead and inspire all these various other superheroes, even ones that he doesn't know very well. He's like Superman or Wonder Woman in that sense. Absolute Power number 3 is the penultimate issue of the DC event comic book. Really? Only 4 issues? That's it? I mean, it seems like such a big, meaty idea, and they started so dramatically with Superman falling out of the sky. Okay. Is that why it feels like everything DC is publishing right now is an absolute power tie-in? Like, are they just trying to squeeze as much juice as they can out of this idea despite the short story duration? Cool cover, though, by Dan Mora. It's kind of a nice takeoff of the Incredible Hulk 340 cover by Todd McFarlane. Dan Mora also draws a really cool-looking Black Alice. It makes me want to see more of her. Our author Mark Waid gives us some nice tension between Nightwing, who is the leader of all the heroes in this story, and Big Barda. Barda even calls Nightwing Batman's child at one point, which is a nice little dig. I guess even Nightwing has trouble getting out from under Batman's shadow sometimes. He's like DC Comics as a whole in that sense. This is Absolute Power number 4, the finale to DC's latest event comic, which, now that it's come and gone, feels more mechanical than anything else. Like, it feels like the editors at DC felt like they needed something to get them from the current phase of DC Comics to the next phase of DC Comics, like where they bring back the Justice League and introduce the Absolute Universe, etc., etc. So they brought Mark Waid in and had him throw something together, and they got a few months of tie-in content out of it with Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, and all the various different staple books. And it kind of got us from point A to point B, but I don't know how much this is going to be remembered in the grand scheme of things. That's not to say that nothing cool or interesting happens here, though. Our artist Dan Mora is awesome as always, and we get some cool character moments between Green Lantern and the Flash. Amanda Waller does smack Green Arrow right in the face on the opening page of this issue, which feels epic somehow. I mean, not quite as epic as when Batman punched Guy Gardner in the face back in the day, but it's a moment. I will say that I don't know that Amanda Waller as a character has ever gotten her comeuppance quite like she does in this issue. And you know what? From a villain standpoint, she deserved it. This is DC's All-In special, which serves as the jumping on point for the next phase of the DC Universe, and if you like Justice League Unlimited, you might like what they're doing here. So yeah, this book serves as a bridge into Absolute Superman, Absolute Batman, and Absolute Wonder Woman, sort of the DC Comics answer to the Ultimate Universe over at Marvel. But it also serves as a bridge into the new Justice League Unlimited series by Mark Waid and Dan Mora. Basically, the premise is the same as the cartoon series from about 20 years ago. So instead of like a 7-person Justice League or something like that, the League recruits a small army of heroes, any of whom they can kind of call in or send on a mission at any given time. So this is an oversized issue that's basically split into 2 halves. You have the first going into Justice League Unlimited, and the second one dedicated to the formation of the Absolute Universe. The Justice League portion of the book focuses largely on Booster Gold. I don't really have a lot of complaints about that half of the issue. It's drawn by Daniel Sampere, and between his work here and his work over on Wonder Woman, he's a star, and he's really shining right now. The second half focuses on Darkseid, and it's kind of a lot to digest from a cosmic story perspective, but the art is fantastic. Wes Craig gives us a great texture for everything. I've always really loved the Justice League Unlimited concept, like it just makes sense to me, and of course Mark Waid and Dan Mora do great work together, so I'll definitely be taking a look at Justice League Unlimited when it comes out. As for the Absolute Universe stuff, I can't say that this story did a lot to hook me in, per se, but maybe that's a pre-bias issue, as I'm not necessarily hyped for those books in general. I'm giving them each 1 issue to hook me in. One thing I will say though, it's great to see DC kind of return to form with a version of the Circle and Stars logo, their classic logo, really. DC has tried to revamp their logo numerous times over the last 20 years, and I don't know, it always kind of feels like they were fixing something that wasn't broken.